Time to play some more games. This time all recommended by you. Didn't play any of these games before the video, and I have to say I pretty much like most of them. So let's get into it. So, when it first came out, I played Vampire Survivors for a little bit, but I never really got into it. The whole auto-shooter minimalist concept just really didn't click with me. I like my games complex, the thicker the rulebook the better. But I might have to reevaluate that stance, not because of Vampire Survivor, but a little game called Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. Funny enough, I never really played the original Deep Rock Galactic, a first-person co-op shooter that really has become its own subcategory in the genre. You play as a dwarf miner on a hostile alien planet in caves rich of minerals and hostile wildlife, and you perform missions on the planet. But you guys probably know more about this game than me. Deep Rock Galactic Survivor is its little auto-shooter brother, and it is addicting. You land with your pod in a mine/lava. You get out and you start blasting. Well, not you technically, on account of it being an auto-shooter and all. Soon you'll be weaving in and out of swarms of aliens while simultaneously blasting with the multiple weapons you've acquired. If you're familiar with auto shooters, you know exactly what you're in for. But there's a twist. More on that later. Enemies drop orbs that give you XP and level you. After you level up, you get a choice of 3 upgrades. Things like reload speed, weapon damage and fire speed. After every 5th level, you require a new gun that can also be upgraded to your liking. There are multiple types of classes, levels, difficulties, but I haven't unlocked any of these yet, so you'll only see footage of the early game here. Each level has multiple stages that get progressively more difficult, with a boss encounter at the end. Where the game varies and where it really gets fun is with your drill. You can tunnel yourself through any rock in the game, and more than any other auto shooter, it's an escape simulator. As with other games like this, you'll have your back against the wall constantly, trying to hold the swarms off while simultaneously frantically drilling behind you for a way out. And the rock you're drilling through also contains gold and other minerals you can use for both temporary and permanent upgrades. All of it looks and sounds super charming, with your cartoony miner spewing one-liners every few seconds. Great recommendation that I'll be playing for many days to come. Here's a type of roguelike card battler I never thought I'd see. A poker roguelike. In Balatro you play poker, minus all the glaring opponents. Which is just as well, since I've always been terrible at poker. For the life of me I can't keep a straight face. No. Here, you try to defeat the blinds. Little blinds, big blinds, boss blinds, each increasingly harder. With the boss blind having a special ability you'll have to work around. You get dealt a hand of 5 cards, and it's your job to score the highest amount of points with the cards dealt, according to the rules of poker. Flush, straight, 3 of a kind, you know, poker. If this sounds boring, don't worry, there's more. To start with, you get to play 5 hands, which have to add up to the amount of the blind to beat it. Second, you can discard a number of hands and draw new ones to better the hand you play. Like with any roguelike, there's consumables in the form of tarot cards to temporarily boost your card, and vouchers to permanently upgrade your cards in a certain way. Now this is all cool stuff, but this is where things get really interesting. You can have 5 jokers equipped at any time. These jokers all have different effects that can really affect the way you're scoring points. The most basic one is a multiplier over the points you score. Others are geared to specific hands, like a multiplier for any 3 of a kind you play. But also status effect type cards. For example, a card that lets you retrigger a hand you just played, or extra points for every discard you have left. Setting these jokers up to score the maximum amount of points for each hand is really fun. And as to be said, can get complicated fast. There are 150 different ones to unlock, and this means there's a whole lot of different builds to try out. Once you beat the blind, you get some money based on how well you did, kinda like in real poker. And then with this money, you can buy items from the store, like the aforementioned jokers or booster packs with consumables and permanent upgrades. It's a great gameplay loop, and one that I can see myself coming back to for a long time. This next recommendation I got from many different people. Cult of the Lamb. I was super excited to play this when it first came out, but due to life or something, I never got around to playing it. But I'm playing it now, and it is as good as everybody has told me it would be, and like nothing I've played before. In essence, this is an action roguelike, cult simulator / base builder. The game starts with you, the last lamb, being sacrificed by the 4 bishops of the Old Faith. Upon dying, you're saved by a mysterious benefactor called the One Who Waits. Very mysterious, I know. And he tasks you with forming a cult and hunt down these 4 bishops and free the mysterious benefactor. The super cutesy graphics of the game stand in stark contrast to the gory and brutal stuff we see on screen. The game is broken up in 2 sections, base building and crusading. Crusading is pretty straightforward. It's the action roguelike side of the game. You venture out into the old world where you defeat enemies, or heretics as they're called, and grow your following. Fighting feels fast and fun. In the beginning you have an attack and a dodge, and you'll be slaying and dodging in no time. Out in the world you'll also be collecting resources for building your base, like food, wood, stone and gold. And of course more followers for your cult. At the end of each crusade is a boss that once defeated can also be recruited to join your cult. On the other side of the equation we have the cult / base building. Command your followers to work, gathering resources but also praying to you, which unlocks divine inspiration. Basically researching the game, and this lets you unlock different types of buildings. The management side of the game goes pretty deep. Each follower has specific traits, needs and wants. You'll have to keep them happy, or fearful, depending on what kind of leader you'll be. Otherwise they'll grow dissatisfied and eventually leave. Things like sanitation, sleeping conditions and food all matter. Luckily, you have the ability to read people's minds, and it's pretty easy to figure out what they need. But I can imagine with a larger cult, keeping everybody happy gets pretty complex. Again, all of this is visualized in a beautiful cartoony art style, and it all looks gorgeous. As any good cult leader, you of course need a temple to hold sermons and rituals. Sermons are used to grow stronger, and the faith you gather from your followers through the sermons goes to a skill tree where you can pick upgrades for your land. Rituals and commandments, on the other hand, are there to form your followers and mold them to your liking. I was only able to do one ritual in the limited time that I've played, but it was a real classic though. Dancing around the bonfire at night to raise devotion for my followers. It's a real classic. Commandments and doctrines, on the other hand, are there to form their beliefs. Like, for example, how they perceive being sacrificed. Another staple in the toolbox of any good cult leader. I absolutely loved the first few hours I spent with this game. Another great recommendation.
I'm a big horror fan, so I'm ashamed to say that I haven't played Outlast Trials yet, especially given how big of a fan I was of the first two games. But there's a reason. This game is mostly co-op / online focused, which is something I'm just not that interested in. But since I got this recommendation from multiple people now, I had no more excuses not to play it. This game is so different from the prior two games in many ways. You wake up hooded and tied to a chair, waiting for processing in some sort of a demented hospital-like facility. When they're ready for you, they force you to answer some questions and then attach a night vision goggle to your face with a drill. Fade to red and the game has started. None of this is too surprising for an Outlast game, but it's set up after this that's different. When we wake up next, we move through an introductory area where we get some mission objectives, destroy your personal and public life. A few harrowing experiences later, most notably with a lady that has a mechatronic animal with a drill for a hand, we destroy the files and strap herself onto a shuttle to the sleeping rooms. And this is where the game really starts. The sleeping area turns out to be a hub where we can select our next trials. These tests turn out to be trials geared towards freedom and rebirth. Whatever that means exactly, I don't know, but unless rebirth means reincarnation, a lot of people didn't make it. If you complete enough trials, you can earn release tokens and hopefully, eventually, walk out a changed man or woman. Trials itself are very much geared towards co-op play. There are always multiple objectives that can almost always be completed in parallel. Playing the game single player is totally possible, it's what I did, but it does seem to make the game substantially harder. For one, there's nobody to bail you out when you get in trouble, but I do have to say, other than the setup for the trials, levels and the gameplay is very similar in feel to the old school Outlast games. You have your trusty night vision goggles to start with, there's batteries and health items, all the staples we're used to. But there's a lot of new stuff too. You earn XP by completing trials. By leveling your character, you get access to the pharmacy and engineering back at the facilities, where you can buy what they call rigs to help you in your trials, like a stun rig to stun enemies and a heal rig to heal allies. At the pharmacy, on the other hand, we have amps, which are special perks for your character, like increased stamina and reduced noise when moving. I really like this setup because it finally gives you something, anything really, to kind of defend yourself with. What I don't like about this is that this makes solo running even harder. So I'm assuming, I haven't gotten very far yet, that you can only equip one rig at a time, putting you at a severe disadvantage. I did have a lot of fun with the first trial, where you're supposed to infiltrate a police station and kill a snitch, but I didn't complete it yet. The game runs well on Steam Deck, and even on Epic, staying well above 30 frames per second. Outlast Trials is certainly fun, and I think I'll go back to it for another go. But I just wish they'd stuck with the old format. Now, one of the weirdest games in existence. There's literally nothing else like it. Are you sitting? Because it's gonna be a ride. Shower with your dad simulator. Yep, they really did it. And to be honest, this wasn't so much of a recommendation as a response to my weirdest games video from a while ago. And I figured I'd give it a try. And man, let's just get into it. To start with, there are multiple modes to pick from, but all of them are equally weird. So we'll just start with Enduro Dad. Your mission, should you accept it, is to navigate your protagonist to the correct dad before time runs out. But this is going to be anything but simple, because you don't want to shower with the wrong dad. That would be game over. The more you match, the shorter the time limit, and before you know it, you're frantically matching dads in the shower. There's a soap power up for double points, and soap trails that make you slip and slide through the shower, inhibiting your progress to the correct dad, or worse, sliding you right into the wrong one. There's even some bonus levels, like this vertical shooter level where you have to catch your dad in a bathtub. But there's more. How about this mode? Dad at large. Your character changes after each match, meaning you're not always showering with the same dad. I never thought I'd say that. Making this mode considerably harder. Or how about this one? This is one of my favorites. Again, you're in a bathtub, and horizontal shooter style, you're supposed to catch the correct dad without hitting the others. Your bathtub even has bullets for shooting other dads out of the sky. Although I seem to keep hitting the wrong dad more often than not. There's some other modes and even DLC, but I don't want to ruin all the surprise this game has to offer, so I'm gonna leave it at that. Performance is decent. Here's an in-depth performance test because I figured a game like this needs it. I played this game for about half an hour, so it might have more to offer than I got out of it, but I'm probably not going back for more. The game's $1.50 on Steam if you're interested. And that's all for today. I hope you like showering with your dad. Let me know in the comments if you have more recommendations. Take a look at this video for an in-depth look at Metal Gear Solid 5 and why it was such a controversial game. And I hope to see you in the next one.